Live from WTOC, the Southeast news leader. The News Now starts on WTOC Plus.
Sorry about that. Mics were muted there for a second. Happy Friday. Thanks for joining us here for the news on WTOC Plus. I'm digital anchor Jude Binkley, joined with meteorologist Andrew Gorton. Almost made it to the weekend, but Andrew, sounds like it's going to be a pretty warm weekend for January.
Yeah, maybe people want to hear my mic muted because they might not either like the fog tomorrow or the cold next week. So, you can take your pick. It is just going to be what it is. So let's get into your weekend and talk about it because we're almost there. Good news here, just after 11, we're seeing that fog dissipating. It's lifting across the area. Could have some more tonight going into tomorrow, so just keep that in mind. Temperatures, they're in the 70s. We actually have a little bit of sunshine out there, already to 73 in Claxton, 68 Savannah, of course, held onto that fog a little bit longer here toward the coast, which is one of the reasons why temperatures a little cooler out this way. Big picture-wise, that moisture to our west starting to move into northwestern portions of Georgia. That's the leading edge of that front that's going to be coming in here. Really not clearing our area till early on Sunday. So proof, blue sky, sunshine, it exists above us. And there it is. That's a look at the bridge going back over towards South Carolina. And it looks really nice out right now, better than what it has been. We're mostly sunny at this time, up to 68. Breeze from the south at 5. You're going to increase that dew point, so it's going to be a little bit muggy today and tomorrow. As we go through the next few hours, we'll see these temperatures jump up into the mid-70s, and I think there's a fair shot we hit 77 today, especially now that that fog is lifted. We've got the southerly wind, full sunshine. These temperatures are going to climb up here as we go into the afternoon. So 77 in Savannah would tie the record of today from 2008. So not that old of a record, but a record nonetheless. So we'll be watching that for you. Tomorrow's record, a little bit higher, so tougher to break, but also our forecast is a little warmer than today as well. So let's go through your afternoon. Temperatures back in the 60s after school, getting to the evening. Everybody looks forward to Friday night, at least most people. And we'll have 60s. Some of that fog will be around again. So watch this as we go to the evening. This model is aggressive. Is it always correct? No, but it is giving you that hint that there could be some fog closer to the coast as we go overnight than into early on Sunday. This looks like more of an I-95 coastal impact versus inland areas, whereas, the last few days everybody's been getting the fog. So just giving you that travel alert here. Take it slow if you do encounter some of that fog. Use the low beams. Hopefully, if you've been driving in the fog, this is what you've been doing. I've been, the old man on the porch complaining the last couple of mornings. I drive in when it's pitch black and people have been using their high beams and I'm just like, I can't see. You just say a prayer for a second. So don't be the person who forgets they have their high beams on. So looking at your weekend outlook overall, we're at 60 tomorrow, which is very warm, 60 close to your average high for the day. But things take a turn as we go through the weekend. Breezy, fog lifts, and we've got warm temperatures, 80 for a high Saturday. Jude, the record is 81. That's an older record, 1972. So that would be a little bit more impressive. Front blows in, and you see that 20% chance of rain Saturday. We'll talk about that in a moment. Into your Sunday, even breezier wind gusts of 25 to 30, highs only in the 60s. So let's get into that rain chance for Saturday. In the morning, you can kind of see that gray filter shade kind of right over the region. Well, that's the fog. It's going to lift as we go through the morning, so we clear that out. And then we look to the west. That's that rain that you're seeing now. It's not a quick moving system. Moves into middle Georgia as we go into the afternoon on Saturday and kind of breaks apart, loses that energy after sunset. We're kind of lucky that it's timing out to come through after sunset because it loses that energy. So we're not talking about severe weather or anything like that. Whereas right now, Mississippi going into Alabama, that system is producing tornado warnings. So thankfully, we don't have to worry about that. But the above average warmth can contribute to those things. Not for us. As we go through your Saturday, again, it looks like that's going to kind of break apart. And then we've got that northwesterly flow. Immediately Sunday morning, you're not going to notice that colder air, but this is the start of it coming in. So low temperatures the next few days. Front comes in, we're in the upper 50s Sunday. Then we're back down near freezing on Monday and Tuesday. So a big difference. We go from about 80 on Saturday to the 30s Monday, Tuesday, and you factor in the wind here. Feels like temperatures, they will be in the 20s. At least that's the current forecast I've got going for you guys Monday morning. So some people kind of zone out of, real life over the weekend sometimes. I'm guilty of it. Don't always watch the news on the weekend, but I don't want you to forget that it's going to be cold Monday. So take a second, say it out loud. It will be cold Monday, because it will be. It's going to be chilly if you got, a new jacket, something like that for Christmas, hoodie, beanie, whatever. It's going to be chilly. And that brings out Frozen Fred again for Monday and Tuesday.
Ooh,
so
it's been a minute.
It's been a bit, especially from the 80s to the 30s, feeling like the 20s. So some people have been asking, I posted on Facebook about this, how long is it going to last? So I've been trying to post these, week and a half forecasts. Granted, it's like me with my glasses. I take them out. I can't see as far. So the further out, maybe the less confidence we have, but overall the trend is it definitely will be colder for the foreseeable future, especially after that front comes through. So hopefully, that explains the weather, what to expect this weekend into next week. And of course, I'm on in less than an hour, the news at noon. If you want to look on your television, you're more than welcome for that as well.
Sweet. Crazy swing in temps in the next couple of days. So thanks for keeping us prepared for it, Andrew.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate it as always. All right. Well, we are going to continue with our top stories here on WTOC Plus. Turning now to national news. This morning, the FBI is investigating another federal agent-involved shooting, this time in Portland, Oregon. The Department of Homeland Security says 2 people were shot while attempting to flee ICE agents. Local police say a man and a woman are now being treated in a hospital for their wounds. The shooting, of course, came one day after an ICE agent shot and killed a woman in Minneapolis. CBS News' Gwen Baumgartner has the latest.
Community members gathered for a vigil in Portland after a man and woman were shot there by federal agents.
The patients were transported to local hospital, and their conditions at this time are unknown.
On social media, the Department of Homeland Security said the shooting happened Thursday during a traffic stop targeting a vehicle whose driver and passenger have alleged ties to a notorious Venezuelan gang. DHS says the driver weaponized the vehicle and tried to run over agents, and that the officer who fired the gun feared for his life. The FBI's Portland office says it is, quote, investigating an assault on federal officers.
We know what the federal government says happened here. There was a time when we could take them at their word. That time is long past.
The city's mayor, Keith Wilson, is demanding a halt to federal immigration operations in Portland until a full and independent investigation is complete.
Our community deserves answers. Our community deserves accountability.
Protesters gathered outside of an ICE facility in Portland overnight.
We must remain united in peaceful opposition to efforts to tear our community apart.
State and local officials are urging community members to stay calm, especially in the wake of the fatal shooting of a woman in Minneapolis earlier this week by an ICE agent. Gwen Baumgartner, CBS News, Portland.
And protests from that deadly shooting have now reached the coastal empire. Cities around the country have seen protests, with one in the hostess city taking place last night. Multiple groups took part in that protest at Savannah City Hall. They told our crews on scene that ICE isn't making American cities any safer.
Didn't expect such a last-minute call to action to be so fruitful, and we couldn't be more grateful for the people that showed up today.
Rua Roman, who's a state representative and candidate for Georgia governor, also attended that protest. She says that Georgia is one of the states with the highest number of ICE arrests in the country. Well, taking a live look now at Capitol Hill on your right, where overnight the House passed a bill that would extend the healthcare enhanced subsidies for 3 additional years. Those healthcare subsidies had expired at the end of 2025, and many of you may have seen an increase already in your healthcare premiums. A total of 17 Republicans joined Democrats in passing the measure, but the House vote was mostly symbolic because the measure is not expected to advance in the Senate. A small group of centrists in both chambers are working on subsidies that they believe could get the votes needed to reach President Donald Trump's desk. Turning now to an investigation out of the Low Country. 4 Low Country jails have failed every inspection since 2022. State inspectors have found dangerous overcrowding, inadequate medical care, and security violations. But the agency responsible for oversight has little power to enforce its own rules. Emily Johnson with our sister station in Charleston has been investigating this for months, and this morning she's taking us inside.
Inmates are dying. Families are demanding answers. And South Carolina jails keep failing inspections.
To go into a jail potentially and not come out, I feel like something's got to change.
We have people on the floor everywhere. There's 5 on the floor currently right now, just on our side.
Our state is really behind times. I mean, behind times. And we don't want to change.
I think the jail is just, I'll just say, up.
The agency overseeing every facility in the state is South Carolina's Department of Corrections, otherwise known as SCDC. Inspectors visit all jails throughout the state each year, and the results are jarring. Berkeley, Colleton, Charleston, and Dorchester County jails all have failed each SCDC inspection since 2022.
We just haven't seen a real sense of urgency to fix the problems that have been well known in our jails and prisons for so long.
Inspection reports show jails failing for multiple reasons: maintenance, not enough toilets, showers, and sinks per inmate, fire code violations, and health appraisals. All 4 jails have faced major security violations. Some include not properly separating inmates by gender, sentence status, or security needs.
I think we have 2 patterns happening at once: overcrowding and understaffing.
The numbers tell the story. Berkeley County has a capacity for 291 inmates, and as of last week, had 468. Charleston and Colleton counties are currently not overcrowded, but reports state they have been in the past. Dorchester County has a capacity for 266 and currently has 278 inmates. Dorchester County Sheriff Sam Richardson sat down with Live 5 Investigates, and his staff took our team behind bars.
When we weren't so overcrowded, is we would move people out so we could completely repaint without having to juggle the people in and out of the room. So we haven't been able to do that in a couple of years.
But with overcrowding, that makes it really difficult. So we have to be really intentional about identifying problems.
Recruiting staff to handle the overcrowding is incredibly difficult for local sheriff's offices. There are a total of 149 openings between all 4 jails.
People working in these facilities feel unsafe because the facilities are overcrowded, so they leave. And so staffing becomes more of a crisis. We're locked in this downward spiral.
When we were doing our classes, our Alcoholics Anonymous and things like that, that's where that would take place.
And so are those still continuing, or those are a little harder because of this?
They're harder because of the staffing. So we're trying to come up with some innovative ideas.
But despite the problems Low Country Sheriff's offices are facing while running its jails, the inmates are the ones left suffering.
It's just been ridiculous. It has been a nightmare to get anything done, and it's been I don't want to die in here.
William Tyndall is currently inside the Dorchester County Jail. Tyndall reached out to us saying it's difficult to get the medical help he desperately needs inside the facility.
It's bad in here, but we usually stay between probably 45 to 55 people in here.
And is it pretty overcrowded?
Most of the time, yes.
Stories like Williams raise a critical question. Who's responsible for fixing this? SCDC sends a letter to County Council, the jail director, and sheriff after each failed inspection. But if corrective action is not taken by the jail, SCDC does not hold the power to issue fines like other state agencies.
They come down, they look at our jail, independent of everybody else, and they say, hey, you've got these deficiencies, and they evaluate us that way. They offer solutions, they offer some avenues we can explore to correct some of the deficiencies, but they don't offer the money it takes to do it.
SCDC does have the power to force a jail to close its doors, but then the problems would simply move to another facility.
We know that people are being treated inhumanely, and there's just not a lot of urgency from leaders in law enforcement or in the Department of Corrections to fix any of that.
With or without SCDC's oversight, Dorchester and Berkeley counties are working to fix its overcrowding problems.
Are we in the best facility we can have? No, and we've acknowledged that. We've acknowledged that we've got to make some improvements there.
Dorchester currently has an ongoing study to determine what can be done, along with conversations regarding funding with county council. Berkeley has a $50 million jail expansion under construction that is scheduled to be completed soon. All 4 counties are continuing to recruit more people to join the corrections industry, pushing for better pay and less overtime. But in the meantime, the violations continue, impacting the people behind bars.
I feel like I probably won't make it home. Every time I turn, it's a brick wall, and I have to go through a nightmare.
SCDC will conduct its next round of inspections throughout 2026, which we will continue to keep an eye on. For Live 5 Investigates, I'm Emily Johnson.
And staying in South Carolina, a Navy veteran and the South Carolina Public Interest Foundation are asking the state Supreme Court to step in, challenging Governor Henry McMaster's deployment of National Guard troops to the nation's capital. The petition argues the governor exceeded his authority under South Carolina law when he sent roughly 300 guardsmen to the nation's capital last November to support law enforcement operations. Under state law, the Guard may only be activated for specific emergencies, including war, rebellion, or public disaster. Petitioners say none of those conditions exist in Washington and that routine law enforcement missions outside the state are not allowed. They also argue the deployment was not requested by local officials and does not qualify under interstate emergency agreements. The lawsuit asks the court to declare the deployment unlawful and block future actions, warning that delays could allow further misuse of Guard resources and raise serious questions about executive power and the rule of law. Well, looking ahead, Savannah City leaders have met to discuss celebrations and planning for the upcoming Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day weekend. One event is a major milestone for the Savannah community. It's the renaming of the Civic Center. On Saturday, January 17th, the Savannah Civic Center will be renamed the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Civic Center. Mayor Van Johnson says everyone is welcome to come witness history.
Well, it's always a variety, a plethora of events that occur during the weekend. But for this particular event, it is one of the opportunities to go back in time. I remember as a college student when they were working toward making MLK a holiday. People here in the city had a huge citywide observance service in the Savannah Civic Center. So we're going to have a citywide observance dedication.
Again, that will be Saturday the 17th, starting with a tour at 1 p.m., followed by the dedication itself at 3 p.m. In sports, it's a new era for Savannah State football as the Tigers formally introduced their new head coach yesterday, Thomas Howard. Howard had seen several defensive coaching stops along the way, recently with Fayetteville State putting up 15 defensive stats. That included putting up top 15 defensive stats, I should have said, including first in the nation in turnovers. Howard now puts on the head coaching hat for the first time in his career. He coaches with 3 rules: stop the run, protect the football, and win the kicking game.
But I'm excited about this opportunity because I was like, when the right time comes, I'll be ready. And I definitely feel like I'm ready and ready to attack all that comes at me. And I think the group of young men that are here, they're hungry and want to win. So some of the little things that I do to push them to get there will be fine.
And finally, here on WTOC Plus, if you play the New York Times' Wordle puzzle, we've just found out the hardest Wordle for Georgia in the year of 2025. Researchers from the company Unscrambler found that the word whole, W-H-O-L-E, was the hardest one to guess in the Peach State last year. It stumped players on July 27th. The study also found that throughout the whole year, Georgia players searched for Wordle hints on Google almost 1.5 million times. Nationally, the most difficult Wordle last year was on May 11th. That word was dowel, D-O-W-E-L. And with that, we're going to wrap things up here for the news on WTOC Plus. Thanks for spending a couple minutes of your morning with us. We'll be back in just about 40 minutes for another round of stories during the news at noon. And in the meantime, you can always head on over to our website to get the latest updates at WTOC.com. Thanks for watching, and here's Local News Live.